welcome to Adventures in Movies looks at dot dot dot. My name is Nathaniel Muir, and I am the movie editor at AIPT. This week, I'm joined by the hosts of Adventures in Movies.
Hello, I'm Danny.
Hello. I'm Blake. Oh, we know. Yeah. We should introduce ourselves.
And this week, we are going to look at Chuck Berry. Not the man. That's the name of the documentary. It is Chuck Berry. That's the name of the documentary. It's a documentary about one of the most influential men in all of music. Chuck Berry is arguably the man who invented rock and roll. Through interviews and archival footage, this documentary revisits his life and career. So, spoiler warning, I'm just going to, hate to ruin it for you guys, but Chuck Berry does die at the end. I'm sorry to ruin that for you guys.
What?
It does in fact happen. So, going into this movie, were you two already fans of Chuck Berry?
I definitely was. Yeah. I grew up. My dad definitely played Chuck Berry in the household growing up. And yeah, I was always a fan. Maybelline, man. That's one of the earliest songs I remember, like, knowing the name of.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybelline.
Yeah.
And any song that has the lyrics, Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll is awesome.
Man, he's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, that in itself. What about you, Danny?
I wasn't as close to his music. We had more of Satan's metal, I guess, a rock and roll. More
Black
like
Sabbath.
Black Sabbath. Yeah, yeah. But like as I started growing up and started really being into the Beatles, I started getting into Chuck Berry that route, knowing that he started becoming not becoming, but he was like the king of rock and roll, like the godfather of everything. I think somebody almost put like he was the father, the
grandfather of rock and roll. James Brown is the godfather of soul.
yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, so I think the first song that I really got to know was Johnny Be Good, and that was through through
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, yeah.
That's an early one. That's one of my early ones too. And if you're gonna tie it into movies, from Pulp Fiction, which they show in the documentary,
Yeah.
also and actually, I had heard that song before, and I can't think of the name of it for the life of me, which is horrible.
Wish Them Well or something? I think
it's Wish Them Well, yeah. It's an awesome song, great lyrics, cool story in it, and we'll get into his lyrics right now. But that song is just a really good song and iconic now for different reasons. But I think that's my favorite Chuck Berry song. What's your so Blake? You mentioned you were a fan, and then was Johnny Be Good your favorite song, Danny?
No, I think it's Roll Over Beethoven.
Oh, another good one. That's a good one.
That's such a fun song.
What a great title.
Yeah. Thank you, Beethoven.
What about you, Blake?
Yeah, he's got a lot. Maybelline's probably just because of nostalgia reasons, probably my favorite. But yeah, Roll Over Beethoven, Old Folks Wish Him Well. He's got a bunch of hits, and I guess you're gonna probably get into it. Always loved how he did they were stories. They weren't so much songs as they were tales.
They were like
Sure.
It's like I imagine them as, because of the time frame he's from, is like a bunch of hobos sitting around boxcars swapping tales.
Yeah. The top of his hat's blown out the top.
Exactly. He has a long stick with a
Well, and that's what the movie really explored, his musical writing, that he was a poet in a way, and I never really thought about it until they started explaining it. I was like, wait, they are stories, this is a whole thing that obviously we don't get that much of it in our contemporary music. But yeah, the whole hobo thing, it doesn't really come off of it. It's this country redneck
hillbilly
thing.
music is how they describe it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so great, and there's way more respect for it, I feel knowing it's super literature driven, and especially for you two, literature nerds. I think you guys appreciate it a little bit more now too.
I think it's great. I think, and you're right, contemporary. Contemporary, right now, I don't know that much music, but Jarvis Cocker from Pulp, Disco 2000 and Common People are two of the best stories and great songs I've ever heard before. But Chuck Berry in particular, I've heard the song Memphis, Tennessee before, And I guess I understood the twist, but like when they talk about it in the documentary, how he's pining for this girl the entire time who lives in, he's kind of telling the operator, I need to talk to this girl in Memphis, Tennessee. The
Yeah.
twist is it's a 6-year-old and it's his daughter. And then
Yeah.
it's cool because like in a story, you have to infer that, oh, I guess him and his wife separated or divorced and she took his daughter away. Like, that's some
And he's
really cool
lovesick
stuff.
in a different way than
Yeah.
we've normally been hearing. Totally cool.
Yeah. So cool. It's so cool when music can do that. It's and I don't know, maybe it's because a song like Roll Over Beethoven, you think like, oh, it's Johnny B. Good. You think they're kind of fun rock and roll songs. You don't really think of Chuck Berry singing these love songs, a different kind, like you said, lovesick, different
Yeah.
kind of love song.
Mm-hmm.
So the documentary, along with touching on Chuck Berry lyrically and his importance to music, there are some narrative parts in it. Well, the cutscenes, they stand out a lot. What did you guys think of the cutscenes that were in there?
My first thought was Sin City is
Me too.
it was a huge like influence to this part. The color was really really cool. Some of the I think when they were talking about him being a robber and everything, I thought it was kind of silly, but I
That
guess
part
it
was
worked.
cool, man.
I guess it works, but I am not knocking anything down because it was showing, I guess, a very fun side of being a robber. I guess.
He was just a young lad having a bit of
Exactly.
fun.
Yeah.
he was growing up. You're right. The color was really cool. Like that really vivid red, I thought was really cool. His demeanor and personality kind of came through, even though they were silhouettes, and he's like kind of dancing around and stuff. I thought it was kind of odd that they only showed like 3 or 4 of them. Like it opened with it, and there was 1 or 2
They
others. And then
dropped it real quick.
they completely dropped it out of nowhere. Like, and it seemed like they were natural breaks. They were kind of flowing into the story, but then it just I actually forgot about them.
Yeah, no, by the end it had been 30, 40 minutes since they'd had done one. So yeah, it was
it was really odd.
Yeah, agree.
They didn't really add too much flavor. I mean, you mentioned, Pat, that it pretty much you forgot about them. It's just that I think they're very forgettable, like vignettes.
They were fun though. I wish they'd have carried them through the entire thing.
That's kind of I wish that they had more of them now.
Like for that music festival part.
Oh yeah,
that would have been great.
Fuck you, E Street Band. Fuck you.
So would this documentary appeal to non-fans, like not just just fans, people who aren't fans of Chuck Berry? Would they sit down and watch this?
I think they would. I mean, if they're fans of music, especially like it's so influential for almost anything that we hear now. I mean, it wouldn't be possible because of like without Chuck Berry. I think you would. This is a very interesting music documentary, and it has everything that you want from a character.
Oh, he was quite the character.
Yeah, he was a very interesting character. I think it'll appeal to non-fan because you're right, Daddy. Like you mentioned in the beginning, you were talking about like death metal and stuff. With death metal is kind of an answer and born of more traditional rock and roll, like the Beatles, which is born of Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
Any music that you listen to right now, anything, you can eventually draw it back to Chuck Berry. So
yeah, the idea of him and Jerry Lee Lewis touring together is like
what a double bill.
Can you imagine what those shows were like?
Oh man, they must have been nuts.
They
I have an idea what they smelled like.
Like my grandfather. Booze and disappointment.
Music documentaries, they're kind of the same, like the rise and fall or a person, how they've influenced them. And it's always the same people. It seems like the Talking Heads are in all of them. And Blondie seems to be it's like the same people all the time. Oh, yeah. This one had different interviews. What did you guys think of the interviews in here?
Oh, they were hilarious.
They were.
Who was your favorite, Danny? Who was your favorite?
You know what? You guys talked about it kind of off the microphone or off the live video yesterday, but I feel like the Keith Richard one, where they were like butting heads, and he's like, I had more fights with Mick Jagger, but you know what? And then there's a letter that he sends at the end of this whole thing. You're like, well, that's Chuck Berry, I guess, in a nutshell.
Yeah, mine was a toss up between George Thorogood and Gene Simmons.
Oh, Gene Simmons
We'll
was
get back
so...
to those two. We'll get
Yeah.
back. I have something. So you know
Okay.
what I liked about so when these another music documentary because music documentaries they might be interesting and cool, but they really depend on if you like the subject,
Yeah.
and they're all the same no matter what. They are all the same. This one, what I thought was really cool and different about it is in all the interviews, whether it was his family members or whether it was Gene Simmons, you can see like they were in awe of talking. You can see like the
Yeah.
influence that he had and how he affected their lives. You don't really get that often in music documentaries. They're kind of just giving the normal platitudes. In this case, it's a straight up like this guy's amazing. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
really comes
It's
through.
literally the reverence of like Elvis or like somebody, a true icon, of the world.
Mhm.
One of those. That's the way those people talk about him, which is pretty incredible. Paul McCartney's like he's the coolest.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
really liked when those talking heads. They did play a lot of like they had a lot of feelings towards it. Even when they showed like him like playing with like Eric Clapton or like Julian Lennon, there was like love, and you don't have when you're seeing like I don't know something out of like behind the music. You don't have that kind of love for an artist, especially like I feel like Chuck Berry. He hasn't like again Elvis stole everything from like what he had. Like again, I feel like he.
Just quote Chuck D. Elvis was a hero to many, but he never meant shit to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanted to bring that up,
Uh,
Public Enemy, but it's so.
that's an all-time moment.
I feel like he's very unsung. He's a very unsung hero, and the people that really admire him, which are a lot of blues guitar players that we see in this, a lot of like huge musicians from Paul McCartney to like obviously like fucking Alice Cooper was on this, but I
Yeah.
feel like they all have that love and deep respect for him, and I don't think I've ever seen a documentary that shows that.
Yeah, his guitar playing is definitely something to be talked about. I mean, he definitely kind of invented a staccato, very unique, punchy, which added to the whole rhythm section of it. Added it. That's what made rock and roll. Is kind of
Yeah,
the
that's
the
rock and
way
roll
he
right there.
the way
Yeah.
he played the guitar is what it was. So yeah, he was a good, outstanding musician, showman, entertainer. He was all of it.
He did it all. Yeah, he was kind of like Prince. Or I guess Prince is like him, actually.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
more like it.
man. Damn, who would be a bigger asshole to fucking play with, probably.
Yeah, no kidding. Um, did this documentary make you more interested in Chuck Berry? Because for me, what it did was, like, I always thought of, okay, he's the guy who invented rock and roll, and he has these songs that I really know. But I never thought of, I mean, obviously he influenced musicians, but actually seeing these, and big names too. Like, I mean, E Street Band, who are quite a bunch of characters.
Yeah, yeah, to say the least.
um, it's just amazing to watch these stars. Like they're just amazed by Chuck Berry. And for me, I kind of made me look at him in different eyes. Like I'm like, I think Johnny Marr's a great guitar player, but it's that jangly kind of Britpop type of stuff. But you can see it goes back to that. Even
Yeah.
it's so cool to see that. So I kind of looked at Chuck Berry with new eyes.
Yeah, it definitely made me respect him in a different way. I've always liked him. I guess I didn't know this much about him, which was
Mhm.
cool. I'd always heard rumors, and like
Yeah.
some of them not that flattering, which the documentary does a good job of getting into.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, his musicianship, I guess, is because I've been playing guitar for the past few years, and like it's hard. And just the idea that you could kind of create your own style, and that's just super neat to me. And like you keep saying, the reverence that everybody has for him it was noted. Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely stands out. Really cool stuff. You mentioned some of the stuff, the rumors. There were the cameras in the bathrooms. I remember hearing about that back in the day. An over or a recurring theme in this is race. They talk about race all. I don't say all the time. It comes up a lot during the course of this for obvious reasons. How well do you think they handled it in this documentary? I'll be honest. The reason I ask is because I wasn't really impressed by it. Because Jim Crow laws were around when he got started, and the whole he likes to date white women and things like that. But what I thought they didn't do so well with it, it was constantly they would say, and Danny, you kind of mentioned it too, like Elvis not being the real king of rock and roll, like that type of thing. And they're like, well, if Chuck Berry was white, and they say that constantly, like His
Mhm.
business
Yeah.
ventures failed because okay, that's cool. I get it, and that makes sense. Kind of dig into it. Like if you're gonna say
Right.
that
It was a
many
very
times,
surface level
Yeah. And
of what they were saying.
I think if it was gonna be if we like dug into that, like I don't think it would have been like the 2 hour movie that we would have gotten. It would have been a lot more different. I feel like the race thing was kind of in passing. Like every single time, well, if he was white, or if he was this or that, he would have, he could have,
it
would
would
have
have
done.
been like I'm glad they didn't go that route, but I just thought they kind of mentioned it over it. That like that was their main argument. Like the
Mhm.
reason that he wasn't, a success in business or as renowned as a musician is because he's black. If he was white, it would have been. It's like okay, that's true, absolutely.
Right.
You don't have to say it 20 times in 90 minutes, though. Like
Well,
if
right,
you're,
and there was other parts where it was like him and a few other black musicians speaking, and it would have been cool to see if they spoke on that. It would have been cool to see what Chuck Berry had to say about that. So
right,
much, not the people around him. That's I guess,
yeah,
but
like
I'm
I'm
glad they
glad
did
they
it.
did.
It was,
Yeah,
yeah,
me neither, because I enjoyed it as a music documentary. I thought that
right.
was really cool. That's what I wanted to see, and I know that Elvis is not. I'll say this about Elvis, and I told Blake every time I see him, I want that hair. It's amazing.
Oh, I can tell.
I tried my best, and it's horrible. I mean, I wish I'm glad that they didn't like tackle it head on, but I wish they didn't mention it so much because I don't know, it's a fun documentary, and then you keep bringing that back in, and it's an ugly truth, and sometimes you want to bury your head in my case, I wanted to
Yeah,
bury my head in the sand
it
for
didn't. I don't think it took away from it as a whole, though. I really don't think it did.
no, it's not one of those things like oh, it's great until they do. It's not that. It was
No,
just
not at all. Mm.
yeah, just something I noticed. So we're talking about hair. Lots of interviews in here. Lots of different people. Lots of interesting hair.
Oh, this is the route. Okay, okay.
Who had the best hair?
Ooh, the best hair?
I
And we're not gonna
really.
we're
Talking
not
Heads or like
of the oh that's why you said I meant Talking Heads the band and you thought I meant Talking Heads like the interviews, huh? Oh, I was talking about because Talking Heads are in every documentary about 80s music.
Yeah,
Oh no, yeah, I
That-
mean like the
it's
interview.
the
so
interview
but yeah,
guys. Yeah.
mistake. I should have clarified that.
Uh,
Um, oh, best hair, not counting Chuck Berry, who was amazingly buried in a captain's hat.
oh, damn!
Oh,
That look is so good, dude. I can't
I
wait.
I wanted that look.
I will have that look one day. I will. I mean, if somebody ever tells me, like, as an old man, like, man, you kind of remind me of Chuck Berry, I'm gonna think like mission accomplished for life. Like,
You know what? I'll say this about Chuck Berry too, for lots of self-inflicted problems, but the dude always landed on his feet.
he had an axe, man.
Yeah.
He had that little scoot, man. You can't knock him off that scoot as he scoots across the stage.
Kept hustling. Kept
Yeah, yeah.
He
But
did.
to answer your question about hair, let's not get sidetracked.
Yeah, okay, hair. This is important.
This is important.
This is very important. So
So
hair.
there's top three hair in the documentary are definitely his best friend and business partner. I guess he had like the older gentleman with the ponytail. Obviously been rocking that look for 40 years. Appreciate that dedication. Gene Simmons. I'm not sure what's happening with Gene Simmons. It looked more like an apparatus.
Yeah.
And then Thorogood had kind of like, as you described, a Karen.
Oh no! As you described.
Did I say that? Oh shit! Yeah.
So when Gene Simmons came on, I was like, "Oh shit! I gotta text Blake." As I picked up the phone, the three dots were there because he was texting me.
The same thing. The same thing.
It was
amazing.
like, "Oh shit!" Like yeah, I by far like it's the captain's hat, which I know we can, and then yeah, Thorogood looking like a Karen,
Yeah.
and Gene Simmons with the apparatus is. Regina's walking by as he's giving. I guess they kind of gave multiple eulogies.
Yeah.
She saw and she just shook her head like in disgust
Well, I
or
mean,
dismay. I don't know.
Gene Simmons has been rocking that look since like the 70s. Like he
Dude,
has
No.
grown.
I was talking to my brother about it. Like, if you go back and watch like Kiss Without Makeup, Gene Simmons in the 70s when they lost the makeup, he had like normal cool guy long 80s hair. No, dude,
was
it wasn't what he
it
had in the
was.
movie.
I don't.
It was
I don't think so.
receding hairline, but he had
But he had
hair.
like normal hair. This was not normal hair anymore.
Yeah, he
This
wasn't
was
wearing an animal on his head. And, like,
there was shit in it. There was shit
Yeah.
in his hair. I don't know what it was.
there was product in his wig. He has the
What was that
weirdest
thing from
wig.
coming from America or coming to America?
Soul
The
Glow?
Soul Glow?
Slow go, yeah.
Oh man, Soul Glow ain't got nothing on this. Like, so,
Oh, man.
as music documentaries go, and there's a hell of a lot of them out there. Like, where would you put Chuck Berry?
It was entertaining. It was, one of the better ones I've seen in recent memory. I guess the last one that I watched was the Oasis one, and that was really
That was
good. This was less good than that, if you ask me, but it wasn't bad. It was up there, top 5 of the last 5 years. Sure.
It was good. I saw one on Bay Area thrash metal earlier this
Yeah, I
year.
need to see that. Yeah.
That one's good. That one's really cool. But
Yeah.
Chuck Berry was better than that one. But
Okay.
like the first two Decline of Western Civilization movies, those are better than this Chuck
Okay.
Berry one. So it's good. It's in the, I'd say, upper mid tier type of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's good. It's better than your standard, whatever happened to new wave type thing.
It was better than behind the scenes Chuck Berry. I would say.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
avoiding all that. So, final words. And would you see it opening day? Would you wait to rent it, pay money to rent it, stream it, or completely ignore? Danny, what do you got?
I would say stream it, especially if you're like a fan of Kevin Burns documentaries, because I feel this is what it was in many ways. There was a lot of love for it. I would say stream it. Yeah, if you catch it, watch it.
Cool. And Blake?
Agree. Stream it. It's like a perfect streamable, thing to sit around, drink couple beers, and enjoy. I thought it was highly entertaining. It made me laugh out loud a few times.
Yeah.
He's just a character, and it gives you a really good idea of kind of like who he was as a family man and as the rock star. And I think that's important as a overall picture of the guy. And yeah, stream it.
Yeah, it doesn't get into the salacious details of his life. It's more into what he is, what he did, and just the music, which is awesome. If you're a music fan, absolute opening night, absolute plunk down money. If you're just want to see a cool music, I would say it's a rental. I would pay money to watch this. I would totally say it's worth money to watch this. So every week you can check out Adventures in Movies looks at ... documentaries about music, conquistadors, movies about butts and art, and just anything. Let us know in the comments. You might have something. Eventually, we will get to Fallen because that's what was voted on. I haven't forgotten.
Oh yeah, god damn it.
We'll get to it. The well will run dry. Well, we also have Adventures in Movies Quick and Dirty. We had a live stream last night. Check it out. You can check out Adventures in Movies, our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and all those great places. But check us out, and next week we will be here again to talk to you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye, guys.
Adios, everybody.
Then mama took me to grammar school, but I stopped off in the vestibule. Every time that bell would ring, catch me playing with my ding-a-ling-a-ling, oh, my